Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Gregg Sussman, joined today by Jim Sonis of FanDuel as we go over the top stacks in Week 14 in daily fantasy. What's going on, Jim?
I'm befuddled, Greg. How do I pick three stacks on a 13-game slate? This is tough. I feel restricted, and I feel like it's your fault. So I'm a little bitter today.
I'm kind of with you here, Jim. I'm looking at this list and a bit perplexed myself, where I see the Seahawks are playing the Jets, and there's no Russell Wilson or DK Metcalf to be found anywhere on this list. What is happening?
They're running too much. It's very obvious. Also, the Jets aren't going to keep pace with no Denzel Mims, so it's tough for me to get jazzed about the Seahawks. They're probably going to hit value. They'll be good plays, but are they going to be great plays? Probably not. So I think that I'd rather go with these guys who I think should be in more competitive games that can give us the true juice that we need.
You talk about the best team in football, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, and you may not think any game they play is going to be close. Well, you're facing probably the coach of the year in Brian Flores. It's a whole lot different. Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill is the first stack here that you want to go into, and Brian Flores has done a fantastic job with this Miami Dolphins defense as a whole, and they've kept things close, which may be why you like the Chiefs in this spot.
Yeah, the Chiefs are weird because usually we run away from bad matchups, and this is a bad matchup. This Dolphins defense is legit. Like you said, Brian Flores doing an awesome job. So we don't want to target bad matchups with 31 out of 32 teams. But with the Chiefs, that might actually be beneficial because it keeps the game closer for longer and allows them to keep that foot on the gas for all four quarters. Not like they, tend to take it off regardless. They love to throw the football, but I think this is a good spot. We've actually seen Patrick Mahomes light up really good defenses so far this year. He dropped a 40-burger on the Ravens. Ravens have a better defense than the Dolphins, so I think that bodes pretty well. Also put up 31 against the Bucs. The Bucs, maybe not quite as good as the Dolphins, but having those two data points to me says that Patrick Mahomes against a very good Dolphins defense can still put up a good point total. He is lower salary than Aaron Rodgers, likely to be a little bit less popular too. So I think that this is actually a pretty good pivot off of that Packers stack against a very beatable Detroit Lions team. So that's why I want to go with the Chiefs here. I think the Dolphins can keep things competitive, and there's also very logical ways to go with this game. You get Patrick Mahomes, you get Myles Gaskin on the bringback or Mike Gesicki, and then you stack Mahomes with Tyreek Hill. He has double-digit targets in 4 straight games, in 5 of the past 6 as well. He actually has 6 deep targets in 2 of those 6 games, which is just disgusting because we know how efficient those deep targets are too from Patrick Mahomes. So yes, the matchup is tough. The Dolphins are very good, but I kind of think that's an advantage here for the Chiefs. It should be a very close game. I think the Dolphins could cover the spread, and if they do, we're going to see a lot of Mahomes and a lot of Hill, and I'll take that every time, no matter whom they are facing. So I think that the Chiefs are a good spot to go this week. I like them a tiny bit more for tournaments than the Packers, but if you're looking for median outcome, go with the Packers. If you want that true ceiling, I think the Chiefs have the slight edge.
It's a tough matchup for them. Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and that deep ball, it's unbeatable, you'd think. Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, I mentioned earlier, also have that similar connection. Against the Dolphins, it's a weird spot, but the Chiefs have the ability to just put up points on anybody, as you mentioned here, Jim. And that combination with Mahomes and Tyreek Hill is just lethal on any Sunday. And this Sunday, we expect more of the same. Up next, coming off the rare Week 13 bye, it's Tampa Brady and the Buccaneers. Brady is paired in your stack with Chris Godwin, with Mike Evans battling something here this week. You worry about his availability on Sunday. And if that's the case, Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown are both going to step up against a beatable Viking secondary. It's not the Mike Zimmer secondary of old. There's no roads closed in Minnesota, which means Tampa Bay will have an opportunity to really let the offense explode, we hope, here on Sunday, especially coming after some rest.
Yeah, a lot of times I will get concerned when an offense doesn't have a good player. And Mike Evans was finally healthy. He was playing really good football. So if you were to take Mike Evans out of most offenses, I'd be pretty concerned about it. But I think we've seen Tom Brady do well with depleted resources earlier this year. He had a game back in the first couple of weeks where there was no Chris Godwin. It was before Antonio Brown signed, before Rob Gronkowski really came to life. And it was basically just Mike Evans. Brady was donking balls off of the helmets of his wide receivers, but he still went for 33 FanDuel points. And I think that ceiling is still there for Tom Brady, even if there is no Mike Evans, especially now with Chris Godwin, hopefully healthy with that finger issue, but then also Antonio Brown being in town and Gronk playing really good football. I think this is a pretty good situation for Tom Brady, even if there is no Mike Evans. The reason I want to go Chris Godwin over Gronkowski, over Brown, is that the relationship here is a bit more long-lived outside of Gronk, obviously. I know that Antonio Brown had that really good game with Tom Brady back in New England, but Godwin and Brady have been working together since training camp. We just haven't seen a lot of that because Godwin has had a couple of different injuries. We've had some weird games to this team. So I think the chemistry should be there for Tom Brady and Chris Godwin. I also think the Vikings are going to keep pace here, similar to what we talked about with the Dolphins. That's a good thing for Tom Brady, for Chris Godwin, for Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski too. This Vikings passing offense actually ranks 8th in schedule-adjusted passing offense, one spot ahead of the Buccaneers. So I think this is a great game to stack on both sides, and I think that it's a pretty logical way to stack it here if there is no Mike Evans. You get Tom Brady paired with one of those 3 pass catchers remaining. You run it back with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, or Dalvin Cook despite a tough matchup. So I want to stack games where I know where the ball is going. We might have a better idea of that if Mike Evans sits. So yeah, usually I'm going to downgrade teams when they're missing a really good wide receiver. And that is what Mike Evans is right now. But I think because there are viable alternatives, because we've seen Brady do well without pieces in the past, and because this game should be competitive, I am okay still going Tom Brady here. I think he just has the upside that we need on a slate with so many good quarterbacks available.
Yeah, you pointed it out. I think that was the important spot, Jim, that with so many wide receivers out earlier this year, Tom Brady still went off for over 30 fantasy points. And all he had really was Mike Evans in that matchup. Now you have Antonio Brown there. You have Chris Godwin there. So the possibilities are abound for Tom Brady to be able to give you the points. And Chris Godwin being his favorite target you'd expect this Sunday if Mike Evans isn't active. It puts a lot of intrigue here in this stack. If Minnesota can keep pace, and I agree, I think they will, then Tampa Bay is going to be a popular stack target, and I think it makes sense on Sunday. Speaking of wide receivers out or banged up, that brings us to A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. That explosion ability reminds many of Julio Jones of just how he could just burst through, and it's that big number 11. But big number 11 may not be out there. And you go with the other former first-round pick on this Titans team in Corey Davis to potentially step up. We saw it last week, and Ryan Tannehill has this connection. Now, I do feel like whenever we talk about Corey Davis, he blows it. It's just a disaster come Sunday where he lets you down and just disappears. Why is this weekend going to be different against Jacksonville?
Well, unfortunately, because my boy Marcus Mariota is no longer his quarterback. Back in the day where we had Corey Davis flop a lot, it was a different situation for sure, because this year, Corey Davis has been really rock solid. It's not just what he did against the Browns in Week 13. In the games he's played with A.J. Brown, he has 25% of the overall targets and 44% of the deep targets. That is massive, massive volume that can lead to big days like he had. So I don't think that was a blip. I think that he's been pretty legit. Now, I will say, if A.J. Brown can't go, I would downgrade this offense. We were talking about that with Mike Evans before. He is that alpha who you want out there, and it would downgrade the entire offense. So if A.J. Brown can't go, I would downgrade Corey Davis, downgrade Ryan Tannehill, downgrade Derrick Henry. But I think that if we assume A.J. Brown's good to go, he played through that injury last week, I would feel pretty good about this passing offense because Derrick Henry is shaping up to be the most popular running back on the slate. That's justified. I think that Derrick Henry should be the most popular running back on the slate because he is a very good play this week. But in those situations, you can just pivot to the same team and use the passing offense here because we know the Jaguars can't stop the rush, but also cannot stop the pass. They're actually worse against the pass than they are against the rush. I think that Mike Glennon can keep this game kind of close. He's slinging it deep, letting it fly, kind of seeing what happens, and I love that personally. I think it's great. So you can feel good about this game being at least somewhat competitive, maybe the Jaguars hanging around until the fourth quarter, allowing the Titans to throw the football a little bit. That means that Tannehill has upside. He's had 29 or more FanDuel points 3 separate times this year. He topped 26 in one other. He tends to go off in the same games that Derrick Henry goes off, so you could actually pair Tannehill with Derrick Henry as well. I'm very much on board with that. That was one of our stacks for last week, which obviously the Henry part did not work out, but I think it could work out for this week. So I think that it's a good week to go back to the Titans passing game. You can run it back with either James Robinson or DJ Chark on the other side. Chark is $5,900 on FanDuel. That is a delicious salary given the downfield work that he gets. He had 5 deep targets from Glennon last week. So I think this is another game where we kind of know where the ball is going. We know how to stack it up. And there's a lot of upside on both sides. So I do think that Henry deserves to be the most popular running back on the slate. But that also gives us a chance to pivot here, go with this Titans passing offense, who also, as we saw last week, does have a lot of juice as well.
Derrick Henry may be that most popular running back. A.J. Brown may miss the game, but Corey Davis is going to have to step up with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback. We hope that's exactly what happens, unlike the Mariota years. You mentioned DJ Chark. We talked about him yesterday with Tom Vecchio right here on the Hurry Up, and he was a player that we were super high on last week, and those targets were there. The receptions were not. Underwhelming game ultimately from him. Hopefully, if you're using Chark at this decreased salary, that you get what you're looking for from Mike Glennon, who's just going to sling it, like you mentioned. Ryan Tannehill's also going to sling it. Hopefully, it's the Corey Davis. Hopefully, A.J. Brown plays. And hopefully, this Titans team is flying around the field on Sunday. That's going to do it for us here on the FanDuel Hurry Up. Jim, I am ready for Week 14. Let's do it, man.
Yeah, I wish we could have gone through like 6 more stacks, but hey, I can settle, Greg, and we can make up for it next week by talking more stacks and more stock up on Monday.
I cannot wait. The great news about Sunday is that the 4 p.m. window has like 6 games. So we are going to be locked and loaded. I believe 2 witching hours for Scott Hansen. So yay. For Jim Sannes, I am Gregg Sussman. Thank you so much for watching the FanDuel Hurry Up. Good luck in Week 14. And we'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of the FanDuel Hurry Up.